Hey everybody, how you doing? Vampire Tekking here. Welcome back to HOROWEEN. You know, there's something about this list, the 6 darkest moments in One Piece, that I didn't really consider when I came up with it, and that's, you know, when I present these videos to you, I usually open them up with a certain level of energy and fun, but the problem with that is they're the 6 darkest moments in all of One Piece, and we are now starting to get into the territory where it's getting uncomfortable, to say a word. You know, that's one way of describing it. You know, it would be kind of, you know, disconcerting if I started off the videos with like, hey everybody, how you doing? It's the wacky Vampire Tekking here. Today we're going to talk about the time that Nami was enslaved by fishmen after, of course, her only mother was shot and killed right in front of her face. Okay, crap, I sort of already did it, but okay, fine, we're going to keep that take, but moving on from here on out, we're going to take this much more of a different, like, way, okay? But, alright, so, number 4 on the list is Nami's backstory, okay? So it's the first one of the Straw Hats that are here on the list. There's not going to be the last one either. Alright, so Nami's backstory. Well, she was born as an orphan. Well, I guess, okay, she technically wasn't born as an orphan. That would be kind of difficult. But no, she was, like, found on a battlefield, just amidst war and destruction. We don't really know who Nami's birth parents are. No idea if they'll ever show up. It's purported that they died in the war, and then her and Nojiko were just left on the battlefield. Now, Nojiko is not Nami's biological sister. I like to think that wherever this war was taking place, you know, not Nojiko was like the neighbor of Nami, or they knew, you know, they knew the family or whatever. So when Nami's parents purportedly got killed, Nojiko grabbed her and tried to take care of her and try to get out of the place. Bellamere was the one that found them. She was a member of the Marines at the time, so she took the 2 girls back to Kokoyashi Village, which is her hometown, and she started to raise them, and they had a little bit of a family unit here. It was difficult because, you know, hard to scrape together enough money, and there was a lot of issues revolving around that, but they managed to make it by, you know, living on their little tangerine farm, and everybody in the village was nice. I mean, yeah, when Nami got a little bit older, she was a little bit rambunctious, if you know what I mean. But she had a, you know, she had a good heart. Nojiko did too, and, you know, Nami, of course, was interested in navigation and drawing maps at a very young age, and everything seemed to be going good. But that all changed when the Fishman Nation attacked. So, Arlong, after the whole spiel with Fisher Tiger getting killed by the Marines, maybe I should have put that on the list. That also was a pretty dark moment. Actually, hold off. We'll touch upon that later down the line. But anyway, yeah, after the whole incident with Fisher Tiger and everything, Arlong getting put in Impel Down, getting taken out of Impel Down, Jinbei becoming the warlord, whatever. A byproduct of this was Arlong basically being able to run free in the East Blue. I think Arlong picked the East because it was one of the weaker seas in the world, so it's kind of like he's a big fish in a small pond sort of deal. Arlong is not by far the strongest fishman, and there's plenty of people that can kick the crap out of him, but he's like, you know, if I just set up shop here in the East, I could be the boss of everybody, and that's what he does. He takes his crew, he goes, he basically takes over all of Kokoyashi Village, the entire island, and he's like, look, you can live here, but you can't pay the trash. Wait, no, you can't. If you can't pay the trash, then no shit. Damn it, 4Kids. You can't pay the cash, then you're out with the trash. That's what he said. 100%. So he imposes this tax, which is, I think, 100,000 berries per adult and 50,000 berries per child. Bellamere, unfortunately, only had 100,000 to her name, so she can only afford for either herself or for Nojiko and Nami. So somebody's going to, either both of her children are going to be left out or she's going to be left out. Bellamere was a good person. She was a good adoptive mother to Nojiko and Nami, so she decides to take the course of action that let her children live on. However, and she even manages to try to fight back against Arlong, but it doesn't work out that well, and yeah, eventually Bellamere ends up just getting killed right in front of Nami and Nojiko's eyes, just shot dead. They witness everything, it happens right in front of them, and her last words to them, she just kind of turns to Nojiko and Nami and just like, I love you. and then just, right there in front of you. So, already, that's a pretty dark freaking setup, okay? Like, Nami's parents, whoever they might have been, her birth parents, they're gone. She never even knew them. And it's okay, though, in a sense, because you got an adoptive mother, and it's a single parent, and it's rough growing up on the island, but they managed to get by, and everything's good, and everything seems to be going good, and then all of a sudden, freaking just boom, right in front of you, she's just gone in a blink of an eye. Alright? And by the way, Nami was 8 when this happened. I believe Nochiko's a little older. She might have been like 10 or 11. But Nami was 8 years old when Arlong invaded the village, okay? That's not the dark part. Much of this story with Nami, the dark parts of it are the parts we didn't really find out about, are the parts that Oda was just implying, didn't really come out and just directly show us because, at the end of the day, it's a shonen. So, after this occurred, Nami was taken by the Fishman, and and she was branded with their symbol of the Arlong Pirates, right? And Arlong brokers a deal, so to speak, with Nami, because he finds out that Nami knows how to draw maps and everything, and that, of course, would be a very useful skill to the Fishman. So they basically broker a deal. Arlong says, if you can gather 100 million berries and come back here, I will sell Kokoyashi Village to you, so you can have it back if you get 100 million berries. Now, granted, at the time, Arlong was probably just messing with her. We all, of course, know he had no intention of making good on his promise, but probably back then he was thinking, oh, whatever, I'll just give her this. Like, once again, kind of the same thing with Ace, just dangling the little fishing line of hope in front of poor little girl Nami. Like, oh, yeah, well, I guess she needs some motivation to keep working. So, yeah, if you can get, I don't know, 100 million berries, I guess I'll sell it to you. You have my word. So he did that basically just to manipulate her. And the dark thing is, this goes on for 10 years before she realized. 10 years of being enslaved by these fishmen that are just horrible and cruel. Arlong, of course, being the most cruel out of all of them. Now, she wasn't treated the exact same way as the other citizens of Kokoyashi, where they were basically just, stuck on the island. And I'm pretty sure they weren't allowed to just leave, because you think they would just do that. You think they would try to slip away under cover of night. But then again, even if they did try to do that, and they probably wouldn't get very far, because, fishmen. And it's their home, after all. They don't want to leave their home. Nami was given kind of special treatment, because her whole thing is like, I'm going to draw maps and stuff, and I need to travel, and, steal from pirates and gather money and all that stuff. So Arlong kind of let her do that, probably for one reason, to gather more maps and everything, but also Arlong just liked to fuck with her. Like, that was seriously, that was a big thing of this, where he's just like sitting there watching her struggle, like, oh yes, go Nami, go and try to receive, just steal as much money as you want to try to get back your island, because guess what? Even if you succeed, you don't succeed. So I can imagine Arlong getting a sick pleasure out of all of it, Now, this hardens Nami's heart throughout the next 10 years of her life. She spends the latter half of her childhood and her entire teenage years just under the freaking reign of Arlong and this image of him in her head. You can imagine she wants nothing more than just to pick up a very sharp object and just slam it into him over and over again. But she can't do it. She can't do it because, well, for one thing, she's not strong enough, but also she has the entire island hostage. So it's like, she's thinking, just imagine, like, all the nights that she spent, like, running around the East Blue trying to steal from pirates, putting herself in danger, all the nights where she's just trying to get, some sleep, sitting there like, I can do this, I can do this, the only way out is to get 100 million, the only way out is to get 100 million, just 100 million, I'm almost there, and we're good, and then we can get the hell out, and they can go away, and I can finally be fine, I can be with my family again, all the villagers will be fine. How many times in her life did she do that? And then finally, she does get enough money. She gets 100 million. And then she comes back to the island, and then she presents it to Arlong. And at first, Arlong is like, oh, you got the money. Okay, well, bring me the money and everything will be fine. But he doesn't. Well, rather, he steals the money from her. And so it's more of like a, Nami, I thought you said you had 100 million berries. Where are they? Oh, they're not here? Oh, sorry, nothing we could do. I said I wouldn't go back on my deal, but you're not bringing me the payments, so, yeah, I guess I get to keep the island. So, yeah. Now, at this point, you know, Nami had befriended the Straw Hats, you know, and so Luffy and Usopp and Zoro and Sanji, they were all there, and this brings about the ending of the Arlong Park arc, but not before we had the tearful breakdown moment, and you know, it's not just sad. It would be sad enough if it's just Nami on the ground crying her eyes out, like she did everything she could, and she still failed, or rather, it didn't matter at the end of the day. It's not that she failed, it's just that Arlong was a backstabbing fishman bastard, you know? So it would be one thing if she's just on the ground just crying. But no, Oda takes this shit to the next level, where she's on the ground crying, Luffy's behind her, and she sees a knife, and she picks it up, and she just grabs it, and just her tears go from sadness to just anger, and you can see it in her eyes, and she just starts to her own arm where the tattoo is, and just destroying her own arm, and just like, Arlong, you piece of you know, and just like, you're watching this, and it's a very powerful scene in the anime. You're just watching this, and you're like, holy crap. Yeah, this guy really did just screw over, like stole your entire life pretty much. Like half your life in service to this dude. And this is what it came to. You know, where she is, you know, really just, I don't even know what the best way for me to describe it is. Like, traumatized, I guess, but I feel like that's not powerful enough, you know? But yeah, that's the most accurate word I can use to describe it, where she has just such a visceral hatred for Arlong, you know, for everything that he's done. And then, of course, you have the moment, of course, where Luffy picks up his hat, puts it on Nami's head, and is like, I got this. And Luffy, he doesn't say anything in that scene. At least I don't think he does. I think he just puts the hat on Nami and then just walks away. He might say something like, you know, actually, I really don't think he says anything. I was going to say maybe he said, like, stop crying, Nami, or I got this. I don't think he even says that. I'd have to go back and check, but I think he just, the words, what do you say at that point, though? Like, when someone is traumatized to this degree and, you know, has such a hatred for somebody that even the fact that their mark is on your arm is so painful, then you would, like, destroy yourself in order to get it off. Like, just destroy your arm. You know, if Nami had, like, something larger than a knife at that point, I shudder to think what would have happened, you know, because you think she would have just, like, you know, because it's just like, I want it off me. I don't care what I have to do. But yeah, he just puts the hat on her, and I think he just walks away to go and fight Arlong. It is like, words don't even have a point at this, you know, when we've gotten this far. It's actions that can, the only thing that can solve this is actions. So, yeah. Now, of course, it doesn't just affect Nami. It affects Nochiko, it affected Genzo, it affected everybody that was in Kokoyashi. Beginning with the death of Bellamere, and finally ending 10 years later. 10 years! And, you know, this is something Oda cannot properly, it's, you know, it's a weekly manga, you know, he can't, you know, properly show, like, how much absolute pain and suffering those 10 years equated to, but he does a good job of it. So, yeah, 10 years of the citizens of Kokoyashi being enslaved, 10 years of Nami running around the East Blue, constantly being, no matter how far she goes, she always gets drawn back to Kokoyashi, because Arlong has her, like, wrapped around his freaking webbed finger. She's basically just out there chasing, like, ghosts on a fool's errand, you know, trying to get something. And, you know, even more of a messed up thing is all of the different things she's had to do that, like, you think Nami would have been such a manipulative thief when we first met her if it wasn't for Arlong's influence? If it wasn't for all the shit she had to do? It's just like, because she was, yeah, at the beginning of the series, she did anything she had to do. She would manipulate, she would backstab in order to get money. Okay, so, you know, but now, of course, this is all for a good reason for her, but do you think she would have had to do any of that if it wasn't for Arlong? Of course not. Okay, if Arlong never invaded Kokoyashi, she would have turned out, you know, quite differently than what she is now. She still would have liked money, because that's, like, something that she had even when she was younger, but, you know, like, it would be very different. So it really did change her and make her the person she is now. And of course, after joining up with the Straw Hats and journeying with them, she's lessened on that a little bit. She's still, you know, she can still steal things really well, but she's not as cold-hearted, of course. You know, they've helped her with that. But still, that's something she's going to have the rest of her life. And it's even more messed up, I started thinking, is that on top of, like, you know, all those sleepless nights where she's worried about her family and the other villagers, I bet Nami's not an idiot. In fact, Nami was stated by Oda to be the third most intelligent person in all of the East. So you know, there are probably times where Nami, when she was out there trying to get as much treasure as possible, she might have been thinking to herself, like, what if Arlong doesn't make good on the promise? What if he's just messing with me? But I think because all the crap that happened with her, and this, like I'm too far gone at this point. Everything that I've done for them. I hate myself for some of the stuff I've done. I can't even think about that. So I'm sure she considered it, like Arlong was just playing her the entire time, but she just shoved it in the back of her mind and didn't even want to think about it, because that would mean that everything she had done up to this point was for nothing. All the people she manipulated, all the stuff she stole, absolutely worthless. And so that just makes the scene with the stent, you know, even more powerful. But yeah, that was number 4 on my list. So let me know what you guys think about that below. Not really much else to say about it. It's a pretty messed up scene. Okay, thanks for watching, and see you back here tomorrow. Signing out. Is it just me, or is it getting more dark in this room?